the one whole unit, right? So what does it lead us to? The one whole unit, if you remember, is how we experience this in the Vijnanmaya Kosha, right? What is that sense that we manifest, this oneness manifests is that when we look at Karam Yoga, as we saw, it is about freedom. It is about freedom. So the one whole unit here is freedom. It's being free in the fullest, in the fullest and in every possible way, where your body is free to do what it wants to do, how it wants to move. Your mind is free from all fear, all pain, and to free to really imagine and to set itself to take that task upon itself, what it's come to do, what it's meant to do, to really live the purpose of the soul that we are here to live out. So it's freedom in every way. It's free to experience the emotion that I'm experiencing in the current moment, whatever that is. It could be anger, sadness, love for somebody, whatever that is. We just feel free. We are not bound by social norms, by what will this say. Experience for myself, remember, not express. So expression causes its own challenges, but experience is a reality. Expression is a choice in terms of emotions. This shouldn't be seen as a freedom, a license to freely express our anger and shout at anybody. That's not what Karam Yoga is about, or this freedom is about. It's freedom to make that choice, because when we shout, when we know that will create its own karma and come back to. It's understanding that, but it's to say, okay, I have a choice of what's happening to me and how do I deal with that. It's making that choice. It's freedom to make that choice every time. It's not being compulsive. It's not getting carried away by what is happening around us, being just, oh, I couldn't help myself. But it's being very aware, very conscious. Not compulsive, but very conscious, very aware about whatever we are doing. And that's freedom. It's freedom in every which way of, as our body, there is no lethargy in it. So I'm not doing anything because my body is not allowing me to do it. My joints are hurting, or my this is happening, or the body is feeling fit, fine, free, very freely moving as well. So that sense of freedom comes from the practice of Karam Yoga in all possible ways. In our mind, our energies are flowing, our prana flows are so smooth that whatever I say, whatever the soul wants is actually getting expressed. In Priya, it is the freedom from the karmic cycle. That's what it will eventually be. It is freedom from that. That's the whole process of saying, how do I do karma so that it doesn't result in an action? Yeah. Okay. Share an example from your of this being. Sorry, Anand, can you clarify what?
This part about freedom, yeah, experience, expression, and actually, I'm also missing the. I missed the train of thought now, but I think maybe an illustration around some of these recent ideas that you shared, if now or later when the time comes.
Sure. Yeah. And I think the classic one that comes is oftentimes is around anger. I think I remember a time now around 3 years ago when a lot of the work with coaching particularly had started dealing with emotions. I think that was 5 years ago when I first did my the basic lab, ISABS lab. I started with that, and that's where this whole sense of emotions came out, and I started experiencing them. And I think at that point, that was the first time sort of got legitimacy to expressing emotions in some ways, like anger, etc. A lot of it was latent anger, grief. There was a lot of grief as well at the loss of my dad, which was pent up for I think over 12 years then, 10 years or so. And I think this sort of first gave me a license to do that. And as we started exploring emotions more and more, it felt like, oh yeah, I should be able to experience emotions. We did a lot of workshops at Swasth around emotional intelligence around that time. So getting people to also connect with their emotions, because emotions is a very strong source of a way of our system telling us what we really want a lot of times, right? We feel angry because something that we want is or we need is not getting met. So it's a very powerful way, a very strong message which comes from our system of what is missing. But if we use that as a way, as I said, it's not a license to express. And I did that for a while. I know I did that for a while, where I used to say, if everyone at Swasth has the right to express their emotions, which is what we are asking everyone to do, why can't I do that? Why can't I express my anger if I'm feeling angry at something, or if I'm sad, if I am happy? So happiness was accepted, joy was accepted, but anger was very difficult for people to absorb. And that was my struggle, saying that why can't I express my anger if I'm asking everyone? But and I did. So I used that to do that. But then I slowly saw that the result of what the result of my anger was. My anger used to result in people freezing and shutting down. And then I started getting stories where the second tier team would express that anger to the grassroots as well, right? So that then becomes the chain. So that karma has that reaction. And then I realized anything that comes. So I saw that, yeah, my anger would motivate people sometimes. So they would also get going because of it. Otherwise, they would remain sort of static. It's a push. It's like that Rajasic energy is getting transferred from me to the other. But if that is not, again, handled or understood well, it will create a certain kind of violence in itself. So an act that I started as a violent act with anger can only result in anger later on. And I saw that, I learned that like with experience, just seeing that there is a, as I said, there is no shortcut. An action has happened, there will be a result. Whether you like it or not, you can accept it or not, there will be. So when you deal something with anger, the outcome will be that way. And then I started shifting, saying that even I not fully mastered it, but if that surge is coming, is to somehow hold it at that point, not to act. And that is what those 10 seconds that people say are important. To just take, accept that, saying that why is this anger happening? What is the reason behind it? What is it trying to teach me? What is it that I want in this situation, which I am not getting, because of which there is an anger? What made this situation happen is something that I did in the past. And a lot of times I am able to recollect, okay, it is probably a consequence of that, something that I didn't do. So if somebody is putting certain pressures on me, then it's something that I didn't fulfill, or an wrong expectation I set which didn't fulfill. So it's coming back. So that was untruth in some ways. I did not live up to my commitment. I made a commitment which I did not fulfill. So it's coming back to me in this way. And that's what's making me feel angry. And then once you accept that, it becomes okay. So I have to deal with it. So there are certain consequences which I am dealing with and which I have to accept and live with. Right? So then those fighting those consequences becomes, then that energy of fight goes. It's not even just submission, but it's acceptance. It's very different. And you see it from there. Now what do I do? How do I even, if I want to repair this relationship, build this relationship again, to say? So a lot of times I made a rule for myself that if I get angry, I'll say sorry to that person. Whether I'm right or wrong, it doesn't matter, because anger is wrong. Expressing my anger is wrong. So if I'm getting angry, I'll say sorry. So that made me also much more, I think, calmer, saying, okay, I'm sorry for my anger. The point is different. Let's forget the content. But first, my anger is not right. Or I shouldn't have expressed it this way. And then it starts that dialogue with that person. And it sometimes results in getting the relationship repaired. Sometimes it doesn't. That's also fine. But I think it becomes clear for me. So that's the freedom. The freedom to even say, I am sorry. is very important, that I made a mistake, to accept my mistake. Because that doesn't come. It's very hard these days to accept your mistakes, right? Because what will people think? You are weak if you accept your mistakes or something like that. So that freedom is what is, I think, very critical that you get from this. Freedom to say, okay, I am angry. But that doesn't mean, as I said, express it, because that's my experience. In some cases, expressing is a very powerful karma. So it has its own results. So thought is a subtle karma. Speech becomes a more manifested karma. And as we move to the body and do it fully, it's even more manifested. So the reaction also becomes equally more and more. Yeah, Shanti, owning up and managing my own feelings. Yeah. Yes. And yeah, non-violent communication, Jaya is saying, observation, feeling, needs, exactly. And I think here it's a little, it'll go beyond communication. It has to work at the mind level also. So that's when the genuineness will also come. And a lot of times that's what the communication result, it influences our mind also. As we force ourselves, as I said, I force to say I am sorry, it does help. So if we force ourselves to use a certain kind of language, it will start changing our mindset as well. And so that helps. Sure. Yeah. Yes, Priya. So children are the best examples. They teach you if you start beginning to learn from them. Yes. Okay. Yes. Manas, Vachak, Karmana. Yes, Ramana. Those are the three. Yeah. So freedom, and I think I just wanted to say, well, freedom is we have to understand the right context of the word freedom. In Hindi, one of the words that is used for freedom is actually Swaraj, right? And that's the word that Tilak made so popular. Swaraj is my birthright in some way. So if you just look at the word Swaraj, it's Swa and Raj. So it's the rule of the self. So true freedom only comes from the self. It doesn't come from the mind. We have made freedom also intellectual, but true freedom, Swaraj, only comes when we are sthit in our self and we operate from there.